stone to where we are, where we've been. Say do it all again. Remember when? Remember when? Turn gray when the children grow up and move away. We won't be sad, we'll be glad. And we'll remember when. Remember when.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. Turn to the guy next to you. Give him karibu kwa. Karibu wapi. And gentlemen, it is very nice to see you all here today, looking sharp, looking dapper. Some of us just looking nice and chill. We just want to have our first inaugural International Men's Day in KRA. Doesn't management deserve a clap for that? Very happy to see all of you. In the interest of time, gentlemen, allow me to call upon Mr. Steve Ngolo to lead us into a word of prayer so that we can start the event of the day. Steve, are you around? All right. Thank you, sir. Makofi kwa Steve tafadhali. Anatuombea bado.
Good morning, everyone. I want to pray, but before I pray, allow me to mention a scripture. That's King verse 1 to 3. The Bible says, he said, so be strong, show yourself a man. 3. And observe what the Lord your God requires. 1. Walk in his ways and keep his decrees and commands, his laws and requirements as written in the law of Moses, so that you may prosper in all you do and wherever you go. David, in his dying ages, was able to tell of the times and the moments. And is giving a charge to his son Solomon, telling him that I am dying, yes, but I want you to be strong and to show yourself a man. And that is what I want to leave us with today. That at the end of this talk or this session, the Lord is going to inspire each and every one of us to show themselves men and real men chosen by God. Shall we pray? Most loving and everlasting Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the opportunity to sit together as men in this organization. You created not just here, but in our homes and in every place that our feet is stepping. You've impressed upon us again through the management that we can sit down and talk together. Lord, we pray that your and Father, we want to call upon you to watch over us. We want to be your men called by your name. Lord, we pray that you may touch each and every soul. And Father, we want to pray for the families that we represent. We want to pray for the departments wherein you've placed us. And above all, we are praying for this authority that has given us a chance to serve humanity. May you bless each and every person here. And Lord, as we continue this program, we pray that your presence is going to abide with us, for this is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. A hand for Steve tafadhali. Gentlemen, before we get into the business of today, we have lost several men in our institution. So I would like us to be upstanding so that we can observe a moment of silence for Joram Maina, David Nganga, and Christopher Omenda, to name but a few. So whatever it is you want to pray, let's just observe a moment of silence for these men. You may be seated. Once more, men, I'm very happy to see you here today. My name is Karan Mushiri, a man just like you. And today we're just here to discuss as men. We just want to see what are the things that concern us, what are the things that have affected us, and we just want to explore as men, what are the solutions that we can find amongst ourselves. The year was 2011. And Fred Swanica, founder of the Africa Leadership Academy, an institution based in Johannesburg, was being interviewed by African Voices of CNN. And this is an institution where they get high school students to come and study for a 4-year program drawn from across the continent. At the time, in 2011, there were only 48 African states that they were taking students from. And they used to admit only 2 students per country. So when he was being interviewed, he was asked, of course, given that you have all of these students here from across the continent, you must have a pretty good idea of the countries that have the best education systems. And he said, of course, without missing a bat, moving in ascending order. Some of the countries with the best education systems is Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal, Nigeria, Zimbabwe. And guess what country was number 1? Which country? Anyone want to take a guess? Kenya. He said the country with the best education system in Africa is Kenya. Now, given that this interview is taking place in Johannesburg, South Africa, of course, then the natural question was, you mentioned all of these African countries, but you have missed out on your host country. And so, why? Why is South Africa not on your list? And to paraphrase what he said, it was basically the fathers were not home based on the apartheid system that was ruling the nation at the time. And the second country that had a problem was Liberia. Of course, the ravages of war that had taken that nation. What is the net effect? The fathers are not home. The men are not home to raise their children and to govern the institution of family. This is what happens when men are absent, for whatever reason. We affect education systems. We affect society as a whole. South Africa is one of the most endowed nations on this continent, infrastructurally and economically. But socially, there was a challenge. So what do we have to do to ensure that not only do we prosper socially and economically and infrastructurally, but socially as well? Because when men are present in their homes, children thrive, communities prosper. And those are the things we want to discuss today. To start us off today, I would like to invite to give us his welcoming remarks on behalf of the Acting Commissioner for CSSD, Mr. Omondi Josephat. Please, let's put a hand together for Mr. Josephat Omondi.
Good morning, colleagues. Yes, I'm very glad to be here. First, even before I go to the commission I'm representing, as a man among men, turn to the man next to you, just say, Happy International Men's Day. Very great. I'm also happy we have some of our ladies amongst us, and I'm told this is also being viewed on the KRA TV. So to the ladies who are also watching, please treat your man today. If there is a man next to you, say, give him a high five, and even maybe buy him tea, lunch, or something today. Okay, so this is really a great day. I'm here on behalf of the Commissioner Corporate Support Services, Madam Nancy Ngetich. She would have been with us here also to join us on this great day. But nevertheless, I'll be representing her. She's engaged on other activities. So I'll read the speech and maybe say a few things thereafter. To the commissioners, to all staff, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored and delighted to be part of this year's International Men's Day celebration. This event provides us with an opportunity to appreciate and celebrate the invaluable contributions that men make in our lives, our communities, and our society at large. This year focuses on the overall health and well-being of men. It's an opportunity to shed light on an issue that often remains silent, that is men's mental health. One of the greatest obstacles in addressing men's mental health is the general stigma that surrounds it. The society has long spread the notion that men should be tolerant and rigid in the face of emotional challenges. This misconception has led men to believe that seeking help or acknowledging mental health issues is a sign of weakness. Yet this stigma is not just outdated, it is harmful and could cost lives. At the Kenya Revenue Authority, we recognize the urgency to break down these barriers, and today we are commemorating International Men's Day under the theme, Mental Health Awareness, a Wholesome Approach. This objective, and that global objective is zero male suicide, and underscores our commitment that prioritizes men's mental health and also well-being. We understand the importance of providing support systems that allow men to thrive both in their personal lives and within the framework of our organization. It is crucial to create spaces where individuals feel safe to discuss their mental health without fear of judgment or stigma. Through awareness, education, and a supportive environment, we aim to encourage open conversations about mental health amongst our staff and also beyond. This initiative therefore signifies our dedication to promoting mental fortitude and resilience amongst our male colleagues as they diligently serve our organization and contribute to the prosperity of our nation. Thank you for being part of this significant occasion, and let us reaffirm our commitment to ensuring the mental well-being of all of us. Together, we can strive for a future where seeking for mental health challenges is not seen as a weakness, but as a courageous step towards a healthier and happy life. Thank you very much. Signed by Acting Commissioner, Corporate Support Services, Kenya Revenue Authority. Thank you. Good. So, as I said, I'm also very, very glad and very happy to be here on this such a great day. You know, women, we've been complaining. We don't get many of these days to recognize our role. Mostly it's more biased towards the ladies. We hear a lot about, you know, the Women's Day, the Ladies International Day. So I'm very glad that today we also have the Men International Day. Men play quite important, significant roles in the society and also even in our families. You are the leaders. You are the people who provide. You know, you take the initiative. You go out there and even sacrifice a lot for your family. I'm not saying the ladies don't do this. They also do it. It's not a competition, really. It is appreciating the roles we do play. And to us, it's such a great day to also celebrate and freely discuss our issues. Let's not just die with. A lot sometimes is said about men. Some things really are just misconception. I want to assure even the ladies listen to this, most of them are not true. Men mean well, they lead, they provide, they protect, they love, and many other things. So let me join you in celebrating this day, and I wish you a very great day. Let's have open discussions freely, and not just here, even beyond. So thanks very much, and welcome to the session. Thank you.
Mr. Omondi, before I let you go, you said that you want to encourage men to be open, to be free, to be fair, and share over and beyond here.
It's small, encourage the people, whether it's your staff or family members, but encourage them that no idea is small, nothing is discarded or not worthy. So communication, listening, encouragement amongst ourselves. So even when I was approached yesterday, I think by your colleagues here to even an open, because as me, I work in the finance division. In finance, we hardly get a great day. I think many of you have heard about me. They've never heard me talk or seen me. They take finance people to be, I don't know whether shy or what, but we're just people of a few words. So it's a great day also to share and even be open here and talk to one another. And that's the same thing I would encourage to enable us celebrate and even get down to our issues. The same openness, the same communication. COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Omondi, for those very encouraging words. A man of few words, but he has said quite a lot, isn't it? You know, that has been, it's been a desert of words, but a forest of meaning. So thank you for that, man. And these two gentlemen shall share from their life experiences, and we encourage you to pose the questions that you want to pose. For those of us following us online, I shall provide a WhatsApp number where you can, because it's not so much about me, it's about the men who are here to share. You know, a problem shared is half solved, and men become men in the company of other men. So those are the things we want to do today, to become men. Allow me to call up our first speaker today. His name is Mr. David Bunei, the Managing Director of Oracle. He was appointed as the Managing Director for the Kenya Hub in June of 2019, responsible for achieve strategic objectives by driving digital transformation with the Oracle Cloud. He is passionate about using technology to solve business problems, motivating and empowering teams to work collaboratively to deliver results. He believes in engaging with customers and business partners to build relations that deliver mutual businesses. And lately, he's focused on leading customers to adopt emerging technologies in the business transformation strategies. And with this, he will play a key role in Oracle. Gentlemen, please put your hands together for the David Bunei.
Thank you really for that, really a great introduction. So to the leadership of KRA, who are present here, and the presentation of the commissioners, to the KRA staff, to all men and women present in this forum, good morning. Really honored to be here this morning. I think when one of your colleagues reached out, it just occurred to me that in Oracle, interesting. And secondly, I've not had an International Men's Day celebration. So what an irony. And then I think the lessons I take out of this is that I'm going to start one. Ushiri. Great. Share as perhaps today we're all men here, and our journeys are different, but we kind of go through the same challenges or what I would call environments that put pressure on us on a daily basis. So I want to just share what we're doing, perhaps from Oracle perspective, but also what's happening around us. And I know the next speaker will probably speak a lot more around really what we can do differently. So as I said, by introduction, my name is David Bunei. I'm responsible for Oracle as a managing director here in Kenya. Recently, I did get additional responsibility. As perhaps you know, a lot of development in technology space around cloud. And I was appointed on the 1st of October as the Cloud Systems Director for East, Central, and West Africa. And as perhaps Karan, you said, the best education comes from Kenya. It might be from that. So I trained as an engineer, but I really never managed to practice my engineering talent. And I am sure many of you perhaps do something that you didn't study in school. And that's the reality. But what I'm the difference, regardless of what you do as your day job. And I think as many of you, I don't know how many of you are in the ICT department. Yeah, quite a number. It's quite dynamic, an extremely dynamic space, and I've been in this space for about 30 years. From my sector, impacts how we actually survive. Maybe it's the word survive. Because new things, new trends, new technology come up. Some of you may be aware, if you've heard about artificial intelligence, what we call AI, which is the new emerging technology that is really taken the world by storm. As of today, and for those who follow the technology space, Sam Altman created called generative AI, which is basically an adaptive technology that can mimic human abilities. So for example, the easiest way to explain this is that if you want a speech, basically you go to ChatGPT and you say, I want a speech on mental health. It will give you a speech in 2 seconds. This is for college. For my graduation on this and such a subject, it gives you that in 2 seconds. What were the results for this sports for the last 20 years or 30 years? It gives you in 2 seconds. This is the world we're living in. And that means, so Sam Altman, it happened last week, it was hosted by the board, it's a long story. Saturday he was was taken back, and then next day he had his own demands, and the board couldn't even meet his demands. So it's a technology space that is changing so fast that a lot of us are concerned. And in this industry, what's happening is it's almost like there's a concern, right? There's a report released March 2023 from Goldman Sachs, is one of the analysts in financial sector. It said the AI, artificial intelligence, will substitute up to 25% of current work, and with about 2/3 of jobs exposed to some degree of automation. What that means is that 2/3 of the current jobs are potentially at risk to be substituted with a computer, an automated computer. What does that do to us? We start worrying about our job. We start worrying about the future. We start worrying about what's going to happen. And really, this is something that's real at the moment, and it's creating concern, especially in the ICT sector. The other area which I think maybe some of you already see is the pressure to deliver and to meet the expectations of our organizations, our society, and we all feel it now. I come from a technology organization, but I have a sales teams that go to the field. And these teams are under enormous pressure. Just to explain how it works, we are a public listed company in the stock market, and our leadership and our board would promise the stock market the next quarter we will give you a guarantee of maybe 10 shillings per share that you hold with us. And then what happens with that is that the shareholders really believe in it, and they commit that this company is going to deliver 10 shillings per share in February next year. And so we work backwards in the organization. I tell the salespeople, I need to deliver $100,000 every week. I need to deliver $400,000 every month, and I need you to deliver 1.2 million every quarter. And if you don't deliver that in one quarter, I'm going to put you in a coaching program. And if you don't deliver that, I'm going to put you in a PIP. And in your third quarter, you'll leave the organization if you don't deliver. So can you imagine the pressure that you put onto employees with that kind of structure? It's happening a lot, right? And this is the work environment we live today. This is our age and our time. And it's not happening in sales only. It's happening, and I'm sure you know it better at the moment. So this kind of pressure will definitely put us in a very, very difficult, stressful environment. And our minds, and I believe this is part of our life that we have to mitigate. And we have to find a way to actually address it. So it's really this type of concerns that bring anxiety, and it brings depression, and that uncertainty brings the stress. And if we don't manage these stresses, it brings unhealthy living, which eventually perhaps leads to mental illness. And that's a reality. So what are organizations doing? And I think this realization has made organizations, not only private and public, to realize that we need to do something. And I think a lot of the reasons we're gathered here today, also taking advantage of the International Men's Day, is to have this conversation. And this conversation hopefully will result into all of us understanding what we need to do, what we need to help each other, and what we need to encourage each other, especially in this environment that we find ourselves in. As I was preparing for this, I kind of just, because I am not an expert in this field, and I found this definition of mental health, and it says it's a state of well-being that enables people to cope with. In the remainder of the time that I have, I will attempt to share a bit of what we're doing from as organization perspective, the awareness that's ongoing that you may take advantage of, and also being International Men's Week, maybe I touch on a few things for us men. Some facts that I kind of so important. Globally, 1 in every 8 people living, 1 in every 8 people are living with mental health condition. This is according to WHO. It's estimated that 700,000 people die worldwide each year. Option successful mental health condition. Most people with mental disorders lack the awareness. And really, we do not have access to. And a lot of people experience stigma when we have this discussion around mental illness. And so we really have to do something. I also kind of, there is really a lot that WHO have put in place, and I'll also share from a Kenyan perspective, and work are integrally intertwined. Mental health is more than absence of mental health conditions. Well-being that enables people to cope with stresses of life, to realize their abilities, to learn well, to work well, and contribute to their communities. Mental health conditions occur irrespective of whether work has casually contributed to them. Poor mental health has a negative effect on a person's cognitive, behavioral, emotional, social, and relational well-being. And so even the Ministry of Health also have released guidelines. And I think from a numbers perspective, approximately 3.7 million, of approximately 3.7 million Kenyan employees out of a workforce of about 25 million, those are affected by 3.7 out of 20 brings the message home. And we have to mention this because it's important that I share what we're doing, because we did recognize this from our perspective, that we have to open up and ensure that we are able to have conversations. us that we do on a regular basis every 3-4 months for across the employees, and we bring in an expert to speak to us, whether men or women, but more important, we have a portal that we do provide content, podcasts around mental health, and we're able to drive this so that participation and learning out of it. And it's really good. I mean, I about what could be done differently. We do also obviously have the health insurance policy covering mental health and all those, areas that would help us to have employee guidelines from an HR perspective to provide non-discriminatory environment policy around mental sickness. The last one, and I think among many, is that we have provided training to our managers, because the manager is the first line of interaction to our employees, so that they have conversations and they can pick out and have this addressed at an early stage. So there are quite a number of areas there that of recommendation in terms of what needs to be done, and I do encourage especially organizations to do this. The last one for me in this conversation is the men focus. I think poor health, mental health really affects everyone. It doesn't matter what gender or what kind of race or where you come from. But I think the outcomes are different for men and women. Due to societal expectation of our masculinity, we're less able to talk to others about it. I think part of it is that there's expectation of the masculinity and ability that we are stronger and we shouldn't really cry, or we shouldn't really talk to others about it. So I think just from what I kind of understood is these studies that show very clearly that we as men actually more susceptible to death, by suicide compared to women. And then I think when I read one, it said actually we rescued. So I don't know why we do that, but I think we make it happen. We don't try a challenge on us, and we have to take steps. And part of strong personal relationships and social connectedness among ourselves, drive or encourage, participate in cultural, religious, or spiritual beliefs that discourage suicidal, tendencies, life skills, lifestyles that encourage strong coping mechanism in some of these challenges. And lastly, really having a strong self-esteem and a sense of purpose for life. So in conclusion, and we'll have further discussion, we have to be aware of purpose and well-being, reaching out to our loved ones and sharing how you feel is a first important step in the right direction. If you're concerned about someone, encourage them, talk about it. It might help. I think we have an amazing journey together as men and reverse these trends collectively. Thank you very much.
Before I let you go off the stage, I just have a quick question for you. You mentioned the issue of high male suicide. And I think 2 or 3 years ago we saw a very concerning report from Central Kenya. Suicide. Right now we're reading about issues in Central America about legal steps towards it, such as listening to podcasts that can enable you to cope with those scenarios. What are some of the key things you learned listening to these podcasts in light of the challenges that you mentioned?
For that question, actually, I think when you take time to realize this problem is not, you are not the only one affected. I think that's the first realization. That you need to speak out. You need to reach out. It's funny as we that when men, we kind of have a problem, we try to go, have a drink or meet our friends, and when we do that, we hope that the problem will go away. And what he basically mentioned to me is that, abuse and, alcohol, cigarettes, and all this stuff, when you even overdo it, it actually aggravates even the problem, and you actually get into it. So a lot of these lessons that I've learned and perhaps we're using internally is more exposure of an awareness about our mental well-being helps us to realize that we can make simple steps to make a difference, as perhaps reaching out to someone in the office who is not behaving the normal way that you would know. And you will say, what's going on here? And you actually realize you actually bring back that person from going downhill. And I think that was for me very profound. The second piece is that we now have ability and knowledge that's available that we can reference, and we can have people who can actually help us. I think there was kind of stigma in the past that men shouldn't, as I said, cry or shouldn't talk about these things. But we now have ability to actually reach out and have people who are willing to have these problems, because this was the expectation that our society put on. But the reality is the opposite. It's actually that we are vulnerable like everyone else. We are vulnerable that, like, other social, other maybe women or others. So I think just accepting that and being able to make steps towards changing that realization.
Fantastic. Thank you. Gentlemen, a hand for Mr. Bunei, please. And he did mention that it's all about awareness. So to create an awareness exercise, this year the UN said that our theme for International Men's Day is zero male suicide. Here at KRA, we have a customized theme. So I want you to repeat after me. Mental health, awareness, a wholesome approach. So let's say the whole thing. Mental health, awareness about you here at the workplace. But outside the walls of Times Tower, is going to be my next keynote speaker before we get into the panel session. He possesses more than 11 years of extensive Samuel Oroko.
Some of you may ask, what does that mean? But we were able to get what we were looking for. When I got the call from Mr. Obonyo, and he mentioned that I'm so and so, I'm calling you from KRA, there are those calls you get, and then you get some adrenaline in your body, increases a bit, and then he was quick to mention that it's not what you are thinking of. I'm calling you because of APC Day. So I'm happy to be here today, and thanks to the management for thinking about the men. For a long time we have heard about the girl child, Women is International Day, Women Conference, but you never hear about men, nothing about man. But I'm happy KRA is thinking about the male child, the boy child, which is very important. You see me with water, and one of the things I want to discuss is about self-awareness. I have thick saliva, so I keep on taking water. That's called self-awareness, which is very crucial for mental well-being. I want to tell you two stories. Life's about stories. The first story, there are these people who lost their relative, and their relative was to be buried the following week, so they made preparations to make sure they bring the remains at home on time so that they could perform their rituals for the burial ceremony. So they set out to go to the mortuary to pick, this is a story I heard from somewhere, to pick the remains of their relative. So the mortuary where the remains were kept have a rule that if you delay in picking the remains, you get a fine of 1,000 shillings per hour of delay. So they were rushing, and they were remaining with a distance of about 10 kilometers. They got to the point where there was a lot of traffic jam. And they could not do anything about it, so they kept on waiting. They were remaining with 2 kilometers now, and they had about half an hour left before they get to the place where they were going. When the traffic jam was cleared, they got the new problem. Their car broke down, and the car could not move. And all the money which they had collected from the WhatsApp fundraising had been spent in clearing the hospital bills and paying the mortuary fees. So they asked themselves, what are we going to do? Because if we delay, we have no money to pay the fines. And they thought, let's carry the coffin in our head and run. Even if we get there late, we'll explain to them that our car broke down, that's why we delayed. So the strong man was given the coffin to carry and was running down the road. At the roundabout, he met the police. And the police was like, what are you carrying? Where are you from? Where are you going? He thought very quickly, and he said, excuse me, sir, I'm just from the cemetery up here. I've been staying in the grave for 5 years, and I'm bored with that cemetery. I want to change site. We had to get his way and got the mortuary on time to collect the remains. Second story, and this is a true story. I have a friend of mine in Uganda. He wanted to build a factory of manufacturing drugs, human medicine, injectable drugs. So he had an idea that a factory, for it to meet international standards, the structure should be very clean, have a good environment, a good compound, and he spent millions of money, and billion plumbing was marvelous, the landscaping was good. He said, now I want to put in place the machines. And they traveled to Germany because he thought that's where the best machines come from, which is true sometimes. So he went to the factory of the machines, and he said, I'm so-and-so from Uganda. I want to put a factory. I'll put the buildings in place, so I'm here to buy the machines. And the factory technician said, let's travel and see what you have put in place. So they came to Uganda and went to the site where he had put the structures. And they looked at the buildings. They were very smart, very expensive. In their head, they knew there's a problem. They knew for the machines is looking for to fit in the structure, the roof has to come out. For proper plumbing to be done, for the clean system for manufacturing of medicine, which is internationally approved by FDA, this wall has to come out. This foundation has to be redone. And they asked him, how much you spent? He said, 200 million US dollars. They said, that is very good. What you have done is marvelous. You have put up a very beautiful factory. So let's retire to our hotel. We have a meeting next day. We discuss how much it will cost you to buy the machines and install. When they went back to the hotel, they asked themselves, the amount of money going to be spent to renovate these structures for it to be a factory is more than the amount of money he has spent to build it. If we tell him that, he may shoot us. He may collapse. What do we do? The following day they went and they told him, done a good work. We have to go back to Germany, sit down, do the designing of the machines which will fit in this building, and then we shall send you an email with the proper quotation and the machines you require. They flew back. When they arrived in Germany, they did an email describing the kind of renovations required, and at the end, they advised him, you have to build the factory afresh from scratch and involve the experts to put the machines in place, and for you, before you put the roof, the machines have to be in the building. What do you think happened to this man when he received that email showing him that what he had done, thinking he has done the right thing, all his money has gone into waste? What do you think happened? He got into stroke, he collapsed, and this one, he died. That's a true story. He died. We are talking about International Men's Day, and we are talking about the mental health of man. Today I want to speak about the controversial things which many of us will not speak. And I want us to get prepared because I'm a controversial human being. And I'm going to disturb our beliefs and our wiring and show you why our culture and our wiring is what is pushing men into more suicide, into more stress, into early deaths than our counterparts. Culturally, a man has been believed and has been groomed to be tough, to know it all, to be the most intelligent, to be the problem solver, to be the one to carry the loads of every other person in society. Men have been taught to be masculine. The reality is, in the brain of a human being, in the psychology of a human being, in the mind of a human being, there's nothing like being man. There's nothing like a man being stronger. The brain is the same of that of a woman and that of a man when it comes to the psychology, to the mind. And biologically, I'll tell you for free, women are stronger mentally than men because of the hormone that they produce called estrogen that helps to increase the diameter of the blood vessel and improves the blood flow to key organs of the body, including the brain, and they are able to withstand a lot of stress. A man produces androgen, which reduces the diameter of the blood vessels. Blood flow to the different parts of the body is reduced, and you withstand less in terms of the mental capacity. But because the culture has put a man to be the stronger one, you find physically the man is carrying heavy loads when they have no internal capacity to do it. People have confused the physical strength with the mental strength. Muscles are strong physically, your mind is weak. Mentally, you are weak because of the hormone difference you have. And because of that, men, we keep our problems internal because of the shown to increase due to cultural beliefs. So as a man, you have a problem internally. You don't want to share because if you share, people will think you are weak. And because you want to move with the crowd, we want to move with culture, with the belief, you say, yes, Everything is okay. So we put on a face that is strong externally. Internally, we are bleeding. And we keep it inside us over time. And as you keep the stress inside you and emotions inside you over time, what happens is that the stress level will increase. And the body will register that the stress level is high and signal the production of a hormone we call cortisol hormone. Cortisol hormone is a stress hormone. And the more you keep it inside you over time, the more cortisol the body will produce. And the cortisol leads to reduction of the diameter of the blood vessels, leads to narrowing of the blood vessels. And when your artery is narrow, it means the blood supply to the kidney, to the brain, to the liver, to the heart will reduce. And when the blood flow to those key organs reduces, over time, the cells, the key cells in those being early. So number one, when the blood vessels are narrow, rising, you go to hospital for annual checkup, told your pressure is high. Oh, what am I supposed to do? Henda ukimbie. Oh, nini. Nobody will tell you, nobody will ask you, how are you doing socially? How are you doing? The pressure never goes down. Taking medicine now to maintain your pressure at a normal level. When the stress is because of this kept inside you for a long time. Blood flow to the brain will be reduced. The brain cells will die early. So you find a man, 40 years, 50 years, having memory lapses. To procrastinate things, having to lack sleep, having to lack appetite. The blood flow to other organs will go. Libido is reducing. And when this you're not able to perform, someone is complaining, it adds to the pressure. It adds to the stress. More cortisol is produced, more constriction of your blood vessels, more dysfunction of those organs. The cycle continues. It adds one on top of the other. And because a man has been shown that you're strong, the man cannot share with the fellow man. In the process, you find men together drinking, going to watch football, going for a safari. Everyone is keeping their own pressure inside themselves. Because they ask themselves, if I share, ataniona namna gani? Nikimwambia, ataenda kuambia yule mwingine. Nikimwambia, anaweza ninyang'anya bibi ama girlfriend. So over time, you are like a pressure cooker. Take up two situations. You have two pressure cookers. Remember, the man is weak in terms of withholding mental stress because of the hormones. And now this is the pressure you are keeping inside you over time. What happens is that the brain is made of two parts. The mind is made of two parts. There's the conscious mind, there's the subconscious mind. So the things you have nothing to do about, you don't know what to do about, they are kept in what we call the subconscious mind. And over time, the subconscious mind gets full, gets overloaded. It starts slowing down your functionality as a man. It starts slowing down your thinking as a man. So you find, number one, your memory is lapsing. You forget about things. Someone calls you and says, send me an email. You say yes. And your friend walks in. You forget about that particular assignment. They're calling you after 3 hours. You're like, oh my God, I was to send you an email. I forgot. You find that you are walking out of the door. You forget your phone on the table. And you're looking for your phone in the pockets. You don't know where you put your phone. You find that you are lacking sleep. You are going to bed, turning each and every time the whole night looking for sleep. And you don't know what's happening. And you think it's normal. You are postponing doing things of your own, and you think it is normal, and it is not normal. You are getting up in the morning, feeling tired, the shoulders, the headache. You cannot explain. You keep on taking paracetamol and other painkillers, when the actual cause of those issues is the emotional pressure you have kept inside you over time. Another thing is about keeping secrets. Because men feel they should not be known about their inner parts, they keep secrets for a long time. They never tell anybody. You have grown up going through trauma. You grew up in a family where you were rejected, where you faced rejection, where you were told, wewe ni mwanaume bure. You went to a primary school where a teacher told you, wewe uko na macho nyanya, hata hakuna kitu unaelewa. You grew up in a family of relatives who told you, every time you got some marks in school, they told you you are stupid. And you have grown up hating yourself. Point where you have never shared these issues with anybody, and those traumas kept from childhood, not shared out, will affect how you perform at the place of work, will affect your relationships, will affect your performance, sexually and another performance, will affect how you raise up your children. So one thing that men, there is need to let out the secrets. Not about KRA, but secrets about your life. When you share them out, you provide an opportunity in your body to be free. You make your brain to be free. And that way, you're able to increase your efficiency at the place of work. Another point is about social isolation. It has been shown world over that men, we are going through what we call social isolation. And why social isolation? Because culturally, we've been lied to for a long time that be a man, jikaze kimwanaume. By the way, hii kitu ya kujikaza kimwanaume is a fallacy that has been used for a long time to oppress men. There's nothing like kujikaza kimwanaume. Jikaza kibinadamu. You are a human being. Yes, you are a man. Yes, biologically there are differences between a man and a woman. Psychologically there are no differences. Mentally there are no differences. In fact, as I've told you, the woman is stronger mentally than a man. So from today, if there's nothing you get from here, know that hakuna kujikaza kimwanaume. Hii kujikaza kimwanaume leads to social isolation. You don't want to share? You isolate yourself mentally with your problems. Yes, you are socially with people and you are talking, but mentally you are alone with your problems. And when you remain alone with your problems, over time, you think you are the only one suffering from that problem. You become a lone ranger in life. And you hate yourself internally. And then that will lead into early physical illnesses. You struggle working very hard as a man, carrying all the loads of the world. When you are 70, 75, 80, the physical illnesses as a result of mental and sound nature will set in. So all the wealth you have created, you'll be walking around with a bag full of drugs. You are swallowing this in the morning, this other one in the evening, this other one lunchtime, hii ingine ni ya usiku katikati, kuna sindano ya kujidunga. You live a life full of misery. How do you prevent social isolation? And as a man, when your fellow man is sharing their problem with you, be available. Number one oppressors of other men. Sisi wanaume ndio tunaumizana sisi kwa sisi. So when a man comes to share their problem with you, listen to them the way you listen to your fellow woman, to your fellow ladies. Because a lady comes to a man, oh, you know, last night I did not sleep. Oh, my husband was quarreling. Oh, he said ABCD. He said I'm a bad person. Oh, my dear, sorry. Hey, you mean he did that? Ah, that's a bad man. How can he? Hey, oh, let's go for coffee. Oh, let's go for coffee. But when you, oh, you know, hey, Jamaliza. Mwanamke akwambia, mwanaume egg, I had my monthly period, so I took the child to the clinic. Oh, no problem. When do you think you're going to complete the report? Please give me 2 days. Okay. When the man comes, you know, I did not complete because I had a cough. Anapiwa msomo. Unasomea mwanaume mwenzako kama kuku. Unampiga msomo. Biasness. As men, we have contributed to our own mental illness and mental instability because of the way we treat each other. This fallacy about girl child has gone for too long. It is time, a man, you understand that your fellow man, you and your fellow man are weaker mentally, and there's need to support one another, there's need to listen to one another, and in fact, if you have to give a favor, give it to your fellow man. I'm not saying you treat the other gender unfairly. I'm saying if you are to give a favor, give it to your fellow man. It will help a great deal in terms of reducing social isolation. So from today, take your other fellow man for coffee to listen to their issues. Yes, I said it. It is not in any way telling you to think things you are thinking about. It is telling you to listen to your fellow man. It is telling you to share amongst men. When you share, if you come and say, you know me, I have a problem. Listen to that person. Let them speak. As they speak, also if you have this problem, also open up and speak it. And if you feel like crying as you share those problems, cry. If you feel like kupiga nduru hiyo. Hapo. Hata kama mko kwa coffee, pale kwa restaurant, dia hapo. It is okay to cry when you feel emotional. When you cry, you let the pressure out. It's like the pressure cooker. If it is so much pressurized, you don't let out the pressure, that pot may burst. When you don't cry and let out the emotions, over time, you are hurting. And when you are hurting, your efficiency at the place of work will reduce. Your boss will piga you musomo because he's a man. The more anakupiga musomo, the more pressure inside you. When you go home, you have pressure. Other organs will not function. At home, they will bring pressure on you because they will say, sasa wewe hata haujui kazi, umefanya kwingine. More pressure. And now you feel pressurized everywhere. You start running away from home. Unakaa kwa bar, mpaka usiku katikati. Unakaa at the workplace until 11 p.m. midnight, uko hapa kwa zini. Kwa sababu you want people to sleep at home, then you sneak in. Because your efficiency has reduced due to internal pressure, your efficiency has reduced, you put in more hours to compensate. And you put more hours thinking that you're working very hard, but you're compensating your inefficiency, which is out of the internal emotions, which you have not let out for a long time. Another factor is separate the hearts. How do you separate yourself, the staff at KRA, yourself, the you? You are, for some time, men, they think of work, family, friends, APCD, they forget there is themselves. You, wewe. Self-care is very important. So when you leave KRA, leave the heart of the staff of KRA here. Let me tell you, the truth is, if men were that strong and carrying out the Lord's, then we could have men who are 500 years old alive today. If men were as tough as a stone, we could have men living for 1,000 years. If we were that strong, why do you die? You die because you're a human being. You die early because of the emotions you keep inside you. So separate the hearts. When you leave KRA, because of you are going to share, your efficiency will increase. You're able to finish your work on time here. Leave it here. If today you drop dead, God forbid, you didn't think KRA will close. You think KRA will stop existing. You will be replaced immediately. Within a second, ingine ameka hiyo kiti. Don't carry the burden. I'm not telling you to reduce your efficiency. When you share emotionally, you will be effective. You work very hard, yes, and work on time. When you live here, acha kazi hapa. Go home, be the family person. Go home, be yourself. When you go for kinyonzi, don't carry the burden inside you. That sasa mimi nikifanyiwa massage, nikikatwa nywele hivi, pesa itaisha. Enjoy taking care of yourself. Kama ni kukatwa nywele, kaa hapo and relax. Take your time and take care of yourself. If you want to go for a venture and have time for yourself, so long as you're not doing the wrong thing, have time for yourself and take care of yourself. It is very, very important. It is very, very crucial. Separate the hearts. At family level, because this is where we go wrong again. As from today, another way of releasing the emotions inside you, be candid and open and honest. In life, you need to know the things which you cannot control and let them not affect you and let them out of your brain. For example, if the housing levy has been implemented, it is not something you can control. So why are you being stressed? Oh, housing levy imekuja. Oh, the prices of fuel has gone up. Oh, sasa mafuta imeongezeka. Yet there are things you cannot control. In life, be aware that there are things which you cannot control. And the things you cannot control, let them off your mind. Let them not be a source of stress. And as a man, you need to know, as you grow up and increase in age, the things you control will reduce. The things you influence will increase. Your children are growing, you're still struggling to control them. You can't. As you age, you're struggling to control your wife. You can't. Be aware of that. So that when they become uncontrollable, it doesn't affect you. If you are not aware, then it will affect you. You get stressed. Oh, sasa watoto wanisikizi. It is normal as you age. Right now, we're fairly adults. There are things your father tells you and you're like, mzee hapana. Hiyo mimi, sitafanya namna hiyo. Another thing is, once you know the things you cannot control, they should not stress you. And therefore, you must be candid about it. If your budget has increased or the income is constant and the expenses have increased, be honest and say, I don't have. You're going for an outing and with a group of ladies, you are constrained financially, and because you want to be the man society has lied to you, be man, You want to be the one paying the bills for the lunch. Bill inakuja, you are the only man in that group, and your colleagues even earn more than you. Unatafuta hapa kadi iko wapi, M-Pesa, unalipa. You swipe your card, you remain with 1,000 shillings. These other people wenye mekaa hapo, wako na pesa imejaa kwa account. There's nothing like, be honest and say, let's share the bill. Mimi sina pesa. Be vulnerable. Say, mimi sina pesa. Na unasema confident, I don't have money. It is okay not to have. It's not a crime not to have. If you have, it's okay. You can. If you don't have, you don't have. Be honest. At home, if the money has reduced, say, kama ni mafuta, ulikuwa unatumia 5 liters a week, sasa mnapunguza hiyo mafuta ya 5 liters inaenda 2 weeks. Adjust. If the salon ilikuwa ya 10,000, reduce it 5,000 shillings. Be honest. If your child says, I want a PCD, M-Swari, Fuliza, get the money there. If it's not urgent, say, I don't have. Now, when I have, I will do it. Be honest. Say the truth. It's another way of releasing pressure outside your mind. Releasing your release pressure in your mind, the cortisol hormone will reduce. The blood vessels are going to be bigger. The blood flow to key organs of the body is going to increase. And invisibly, you're going to have a good life. Invisibly, you're going to reduce physical illnesses like pressure, diabetes, early dementia, and other dysfunctionality in the body, including the erectile dysfunction, which many people don't speak about. You start using medication, unaambiwa mkaombero ndio hiyo kula, hakuna kitu, hakuna kitu. Let me tell you, 90% of the erectile dysfunction amongst men is because of our mental instability. That is factual. And when you get it, mtu anaanza kutoroka, anaanza kunywa pombe, it even gets worse. It even gets worse. So honesty and openness and candidness is crucial for your mental health, for your mental well-being. And what you're supposed to do, there are screening tools. Nowadays, type. Each and every human being is born with a personality type. Know your personality. Are you a person when the sugars zikienda chini kidogo unakuwa mkali kama pilipili? And therefore the solution could be, ukisikia umeanza kuwa mkali, unapewa ka juice, unaongeza sukari, mambo inakuwa sawa. Are you a kind of a person who is not? Are you a type of person who doesn't trust anybody? That's a personality. And each and every human being is born with a personality. And I say in quotes, don't misquote me, kila mtu akona kawazimu kake. Kuna everybody, kuna kitu unaweza fanyia mtu aamuke kama moto. Therefore, self-awareness makes you aware what type of a personality are you. Once you are aware, then you'll be aware what other personalities exist in the world, how they behave, and how they can be controlled, and how we can be able to interact with different personalities. You go to an extent of being aware of the personality type of your partner, your spouse, your closest family member. Once you are aware of their personality, you are able to understand how to relate and interact with them. Because when you don't know their personality, you don't know how to handle them, then they will do things which will stress you and which will put emotions inside you to be higher, increase cortisol, The end result narrowed the arteries. The end result, more physical illnesses. There are people who have grown up feeling rejection. And it's good to understand the background of everybody. In the management system, and I propose, as managers, take time to understand the background of the people you work with. Are they people who have faced rejection in life? And therefore, whenever you correct them, they feel like you hate them. Whenever you correct them, they feel like you are rejecting them because of the experiences which they have gone through. And once you know them, once you understand, then you are able to know how to handle them. Once you understand the person you are living with is a person who was abused and told they are stupid, every time you tell them an idea, or you try to give a different opinion from what they have given, they go high notch and say the way you don't love them, the way you hate them, the way you listen to so and so, you don't listen to them, and you get into a conflict which end up breaking the families or end up creating distance amongst family members. Yet if you knew how they have grown up, their personality, you're able to have a different approach. There are people who must be consulted in each and everything. So there's a way you can tell somebody your idea and they buy it and they think they're the ones who have proposed that particular idea. So self-awareness through annual mental health checkups is very crucial. And who we are and what's our environment. I said, as a man, you can cry. A personal experience. And she had worked very hard, taking us to school, brewing changa in the village each and every day, inhaling the fumes from that brewing process. And over time, she inhaled those fumes and destroyed her lungs. And as she aged, her lungs were destroyed and the lungs collapsed. And when I just gotten a job and they said they wanted to give 3,000. Let me tell you, I cried for 2 years. Every time I could tell her and cry like a baby. And cry in front of people. And cry in front of my female colleagues. And they could tell me, oh, Paul, they could hold me. They could take me out. And they could encourage me on how to go about it. They could tell me it's not my mistake because I felt that I had lost her before I could do anything for her. I had lost her before I could just appreciate the things she has done for us. And I took it as if it's my mistake. As if being a doctor, I could not do anything about it. Being a doctor, I could not help her survive. Being a doctor, I could not save her life. I felt so guilty. And I cried. As I cried, the people I was crying in front of, they gave me support. They encouraged me. And it helped me heal. It helped me get over it. Some of you have gone through tough experiences. Some of you have lost their loved ones. And because men are not supposed to cry, men are not supposed to show emotions, we have never cried. We have never talked about it. When a staff loses a colleague or a family member here, we contribute. We tell them, Pole, after the burial, we go there, show off, we come back. The following day, policy inasema, compassionate leave, this number of days, zimeisha, ingia kazini. Assignment umeleta hapana, kwa nini? We never take a moment to know how they are feeling. We never take a moment to know how they are coping. We never take a moment to take them for grief therapy. And we push this person down the drain. They live a life full of guiltiness. They live a life full of unhappiness. What I'm saying, don't be lied to that a man should not cry. A man is a human being like anybody else. A man and a human being is an emotional being, and therefore be emotional. Even if you are 70 years or 2 years old, you are just a human being, and you are a man like another person. But more importantly, you are a human being. If you are emotional about something, cry. If a man cries in front of another man, be the supporter of that man. Don't dismiss them. So kuanzia leo, hakuna kuambia mwanaume mwingine chikaze. Ukiona analia, hata unamsaidia kulia, mnalia pamoja. And then baadaye mnauliza sasa tufanye namna gani? Then you sit down and share. I was watching some interview by one of the long practicing lawyers in town, Kaminwa, and I was saying that there's a time he was representing the former prime minister who had been imprisoned unfairly, and therefore he had gone to court with his wife to try and get bail. And the judge saw them and told them, go away, walk out of my court, he's going to jail. So when they walked out of the courtroom, the wife started crying, even Camino started crying. He was very emotional about it. What am I saying? When you feel like crying, just cry. Being emotional is okay. It helps release the pressure. It helps reduce your journey into physical illnesses. And then at KRA, my strongest advice is that let's have a system of supporting men who are going through a lot of things in life, and have a program whereby you send men for annual mental health checkups each and every year. Let it be a routine. Send your men for mental health checkups every year, because men are more vulnerable to mental illnesses, are more vulnerable to committing suicide, are more vulnerable to using negative coping mechanisms as a way of running away from stress. And I will propose that as a country, we need to have a conversation where we can be having annual men's conference, where men meet and discuss real issues affecting them. From today, no, hakuna kujikasa kimwanaume. You're just a human being, emotional being. Let's share, let's get help. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Terry. Before let you have your seat and we transition into the panel discussion. You know when you say to take your fellow man for coffee, you've had the response. You know that you can cry for man. You also have the responsibility. Why do you think we are averse or we are resistant to taking our fellow men for a cup of coffee?
Thank you. That's a very important question. You know, I always tell people that sometimes we do things the way we do them because we have grown up and we have seen them being done that way, and then we just copy and continue doing them that way. For example, a very simple question: why must the chapati be round? Who say that chapati should be round? Because we have grown up, we found a chapati round and we have kept on making it round. So we have grown up thinking that, or being groomed and conditioned that the purpose of having a coffee date is a connotation of having some affair. The purpose of having a sit down is for purposes of sharing emotional things and deep things. Therefore, we fear taking another man for a coffee because society has a mirror. How would they think about us? They would think now, sisi, tumeanza hiyo upande ingine ya kufunguana boot. Let me tell you, you don't have to do something because you found it being that way. We have to be radical in our thinking. If the people who came up before us were to keep on doing the routine things, we could not be having the AI Uday was talking about. It is because of people who think radically, who think different and want to do things differently that we have technology that we have today. And therefore, for us to break this problem amongst men, we have to begin thinking different without imagining what the other person would think about. It is what we think about ourselves. It is what you think about yourself, not what your colleague or your friend is thinking about. And sometimes we hinder our progress because of thinking on how the other person will think about me. Yet they don't know you, yet they are not even interested. Sometimes the societal pressure is because of doing things because of the other people, not because of you, of the other people who don't even know you, who don't even care about you. Think about yourself for your well-being. Yes, you can have a COVID date because internally you know where you are doing it. You're not doing it to please other people, but you are doing it to help yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Daktari. Gentlemen, a hand for Daktari, please. Daktari, we need to please take the seats on the stage so that we can get into the panel conversation. But as our guest seats, turn to the men next to you. Well, you have to be seated. Okay, don't let the house. Daktari, I think you have some more work to do. Hataki kwenda kahawa. I shall not say ni sawa kulia, but tuende tu kahawa. Wacha tuanze na kahawa. And let me just make the audience aware that we do want to get to the Q&A session, so we want to have live questions from the audience. But for those also following us online, please be aware that we do have a social media line. You can send us your questions through. That is 0791 444 564. For those of you following us online or really here in the room and you want to send your questions on our social media line on WhatsApp, the number is 0791 444 564. So as you prepare your questions, allow me to just ask a few questions to our panelists based on what they have shared. And actually, allow me to start with you because you have said quite a number of things. And I think what caught me is that when you were sharing the story of loss about your mother, and people are coming to comfort you, you said that it is the ladies who came to comfort you, telling you, Pauline. I did hear you mention men coming to comfort you. And even as you respond to that, I can see you're wearing a ring on your finger. How does your better half take it when she's hearing you and comforting you? And how do you manage that space?
Thank you. That's a very important question, and it's a conversation, and actually I'm very passionate about men's mental well-being and men supporting one another. You know, I shared my grief with both colleagues, female and male, and I faced rejection. I faced dismissal from my fellow men because of the cultural thing I was talking about. So whenever I could tell my fellow men how I lost my mother, how I loved her, these men could not listen. They would just say, let's go for a drink. Just say, jikazi kimwanaume, you know, you're not supposed to cry, you know, you're supposed to be strong, you know. And nobody cared to listen to me because of the culture that we've been lied to, that a man should be strong. And therefore we transmit this problem from one man to the other, and we don't listen to the fellow men. But the female, they've been groomed to know that it's emotional, you can cry. That one they are aware. And therefore when they see you crying, yes, they will comfort you, they will offer you some level of encouragement, but men will not give you encouragement, what I was saying, because of, I don't blame them. I blame the cultural and the beliefs which has been there for long. And that's why this talk is very important. So that tomorrow, when your fellow man is coming to cry in front of you, give them that support, give them that encouragement. It's only that I was strong enough to share this with them, strong enough to share it with their female colleagues, because again, they will feel, how will I look like? How will they think about me? And they will die with that problem. They will get into stress, go into alcohol, and and as I answer the second question, yes, I'm married. I'm a father of 3 children. That point, I slid into alcohol use. It was tough for me. And I thought that one could cool the emotions and help me out, until I met my wife and I shared this experience. And she understood me, and she told me that now I'm here to support you. You can do without alcohol. She encouraged me, and she pushed me out of alcohol. And today I don't even taste a single drop of an alcoholic drink. So what I'm telling you is real life. I'm not telling you theories. I know KRA, you deal with numbers. You deal with the statistics. I'm sure you are expecting me to share statistics on Kenyan population, how many people are committing suicide. That one doesn't help you. What will help you survive is practical situations about what I'm saying. Honest. Obviously, there'll be somebody to listen to you and get you out of. Then
even when he was opening up about his grief to fellow men.
Yeah, I think.
I think it's a common theme that we obviously, regardless of this really cuts across, and I think we see this in organizations in our workplace. I think the fact that at times we are too focused on our mandate as organizations, we forget the fact that in our workplace, in our environments, and everything else that we do affect everything else that we're doing, or affect even that what we are mandated to do. And it only takes the leaders or the managers and the organization as a whole to actually realize that they have to really find ways to reduce. I mean, I think it's extremely difficult for us and everyone else celebrates me, but really no one knows what's going on behind the scenes, and that's where all this build up and suddenly we've had stories of people collapsing in presentations. We've had people collapsing in gyms. As Dr. mentioned, that we think maybe going to do the gym will help, but the real problem is really underlying. And I think the earlier this is accepted within the organization, that this is a problem that obviously we have to address it and find ways and openings for us to be able to have conversations, is a first step. As to I think vulnerability, I think all of us have in some way and some time faced a vulnerable position that you don't know what to do, and I think this is really where also to identify the person who you can be able to share with. So if we did have our own, in this room, commitment that if I'm not suffering, if someone else is suffering, is also my problem, that I have to help others to overcome it, I think it will also collectively address. And I think it's a really serious action that we need in the numbers. And a lot of us have seen someone, we've lost someone, and we unfortunately couldn't say something about it. We couldn't take a step about it.
And you've given me a performance target, yeah? And as is in most organizations, everybody has a performance target. And so you say that if I don't meet my performance target in Q2 or Q1, you'll put me on a coaching program. If I have not met it by the next quarter, you'll put me on performance improvement. And if I haven't met it by the third quarter, we're discussing expect men to function in such a high pressure environment. And even to add compound onto that, you're saying we need to think about them as human beings and focus their personalities. How do you expect these people to view others as human beings while the industrial cog is just looking at them as output machines?
This is a really good question and a tough one for that matter, because we're all competing to succeed at the personal level, at the organization level, as a country. Pretty much everything that we are wired today is get things done and let's progress, let's make the next step. And when we look back when we were in school, you were under a lot of pressure to pass your exams. You were under pressure to improve your math, and that has continually put pressure on each of us, and that will not stop. That, no doubt, as long as we live on this earth, there will always be the need to drive results and to get outcomes and outputs that are expected. But that does not mean that once we recognize there lies a problem and we need to address that problem, then we should take steps, what I would call, I don't want to call mitigation. I want to call it awareness, our own self-awareness of the options that we have to be able to avoid getting ourselves into that situation, knowing that some of us are in jobs that are high-pressure jobs. Does that mean that you give up and put your hands up? I think what it means is that you just change tact. I've led a sales organization in the past that was extremely brutal, or maybe use the word brutal, where at the beginning of the period, the salesperson commits to a number, and you tell that person you're going to deliver by any means. And if you don't deliver, you're out. It means that person is living perpetually in fear and perpetually in state of, anxiety. And what that happens is that it drives the organization. The success of the organization is short term, and the organization will eventually collapse because you will not have anyone to work for you in the shorter term. So I think it's a combination of factors that leaders have to be cognizant about, address and provide awareness and address, put mechanisms to help all of us to be successful at what we do, knowing that a little pressure helps us to be successful. I think they should. Life is what makes us to be successful and to achieve certain results. But I think beyond that, there's also the detriment that comes with it.
And before I rope in Daktari and ask a question to both of you, then we move into the questions from the floor and online. So where is that balance between the pressure that can spur us to performance and the pressure that can be detrimental and everybody's headed out the door? So how can leadership humanize those type of things? And then how can those who report to leadership find leadership human?
I think you're asking a university thesis here. I think from my personal experience, I think it's the humanization of the whole process. Let's be human. Let's not be robots. Let's ensure that what we are expected to do, we're doing it, and with a consciousness that there is a level of, stress that really can have negative impact, not only to the individual, but to the organization. And I think that's the part that we need to balance. And I think at the end of the day also, we got to be, as leaders, be conscious of because we are reporting to someone and somebody is reporting someone. So this is a whole chain of events. And you cannot be the one who is stopping because you want to protect your team, not to feel the pressure that's coming down. So otherwise you'll be taken out and then somebody else will be put in that position to help balance. So I think it is their recognition, and this is really the tough part of any of us in what we do. It's the realization that, yes, I have a mandate, I have an expectation, I have to do that job, I have to deliver the number. But at what extent do I put myself at risk? There is, as I said, we've been given, and I think the organization have spent quite a bit in our healthcare, in our awareness, and even options that really gives us the opportunity to work in a great place like here. I think let's take advantage of those positive enhancements that have been put in place to help us, to be successful at what we do as a job, but be conscious of also your own health, of what you can and what you cannot do. So, for example, what Dr. said earlier, if, for example, you had a very bad day with your boss, do you go to the bar with your boys? Or do you go have a conversation on how to mitigate that situation, and hopefully next time you have a different outcome with your boss?
So let's all be human. Yes, Dr.
Let me add something briefly. I sit in the board of a mental hospital, and sometimes we are advertised for positions, and you see people applying. When you look at their skills, you find that they have skills in a different profession, but they're applying for this position because it's been advertised. So let me say that we have, again, a cultural problem in Kenya, or in Africa to say the least, whereby because of the less job opportunities in the market, many people have found themselves doing what they don't like, doing what they have no passion in, doing what they have zero knowledge in, but they are doing it because they have to get food on the table at the end of the day. So you find that the pressure, they will feel it because, number one, they have some level of incompetence in the assignments which they've been given, but superficially they have said they are capable. Internally, they know they are not capable, and they are in constant pressure to deliver. And they face this pressure each and every day in that thing you're doing. You can read more about it, you can get mentorship. When you wake up every day, you wake up feeling energetic and happy to go to do that things. So you get there again already mentally exhausted. Mental wellness and health is about doing overwhelmed. So you are doing each and everything every day, feeling, me, I can do very well in this department. Talents at the place of work, and place people in their transfer me to this other department, because I feel us, and you reveal to us that you are facing pressure at the place of work because you're in the wrong department. We're able to do a recommendation to you and say, this person is facing depression because they are working in a different department, and recommend that they be changed to another department. So there are many reasons why people feel pressure, because you don't speak. Be honest, speak out how you feel inside you, and you'll be okay.
Thank you, Dr. Even when you don't have money, be honest and say, sina pesa. Do you advise men or expect men to be that honest while there's all of this societal pressure, societal expectation, and knowing very well that we are wired to produce results, wired to provide, wired to show a measure of efficiency? How do we balance all of that, Dr.?
Thank you. In physics, we learn something we call inertia, whereby the body or the subject or the object wants to continue to be in the same state. So I know, I am aware that what I'm saying, you hearing the first time will look difficult. This talk is to tell us the things that we have never had. This talk is to change, begin the conversation. And this change, by the way, is not an event, it's a process. It's going to be a journey. Don't feel overwhelmed if you're not going to say it today, but start practicing it. Just be aware. These fellas, these lies about mwanaume ni kujikaza, yeye ni kila kitu, there are limits. That's a fact. And know that the moment you start becoming honest and truthful, that's the time you begin to release the pressure inside you. That's the day you begin to increase. The moment you release the pressure inside you, the body will be triggered to increase production of happy hormones, like endorphins and serotonin. And these hormones, the things that you do to your body, would be marvelous, only they may be invisible. When you have more happy hormones flowing inside you, your brain cells will live for longer, your kidney functions will be good, your liver functions will be good, and the many other organs will be healthy. And therefore, over time, you reduce the chances of getting dementia earlier, losing memory earlier, you reduce chances of getting depression. And by the way, what are signs of depression? When you wake up every day, you don't feel energetic, you don't have enough sleep, unatana kwa kitanda several times, you are losing appetite, you never enjoy the things you used to enjoy. You used to enjoy watching news, you don't feel like watching news. You used to talk with people, you feel like staying alone most of the time. You wake up in the morning feeling shoulder pains, neck pains, the hands are paining, every part of your body is paining, you can't explain. You feel exhausted most of the time. You have no vision, you have no great objectives about your life, you feel hopeless, you don't care about tomorrow. So many telltale signs about depression. So the moment you start being honest, it is going to be difficult. But number one, remove that fallacy that you need kujikaza. The moment you remove that belief, hakuna kujikaza kimwanaume, ni kujikaza kibinadamu, you are a human being first, before the biological differences making you a man, then that is how you begin. Then number two is about getting constant therapy and seeking help. Whenever you feel down, you feel overwhelmed, get a therapist to walk with you through the journey, to listen to you, and to guide you through on how to go about it. Sometimes it may be difficult to do it alone. Nowadays we have many therapists, we have many institutions which offer mental health wellness. And at the hospital where I sit, we are beginning a club for men every Saturday. So you can get the opportunity to want to share, how am I going to do it? And be trained on how to do it. But the most important thing is to begin.
Great. I think I can add, absolutely, I think you've you've really opened up a really good starting point for all of us. If we've not practiced it, I think we should practice it. And I've had the privilege of traveling quite a bit in my career. And one of the profound learnings that I got from other society, that even if we go out for a drink, if we go out for, it's normal for the lady to take care of the bill, or it's normal for the bill to be shared. It's not okay for the man to take the bill. It's sometimes strange that we do this in Africa a lot, because the way we have been raised and the way we've been put into this belief that you are the man, you're supposed to take care of everything. And I think this is, we need to start having that conversation, because the second part of that, I lead an organization that I see the successes the ladies are having in our society. And no doubt, it's going to put a lot of pressure on all of us. When your wife, your girlfriend is earning 3 or 4 times more than you, and you have to still live in the same house, and they can afford everything that you probably will not be able to afford, it means there will be even more pressure. And that's why this conversation is real, because we're having to take that first step knowing what's happening in our society and the current state of things.
Thank you, Mr. Bonet. Thank you, Dr. Samuel, for those very insightful questioning session to the floor. I'm sure, gentlemen, you've had very many insights from these two great gentlemen, corporate perspective, medical perspective, but most importantly, just as a man. Kujikaza kibinadamu, si kimwanaume. What questions do we have for these men? This is not just open to anybody on the floor, and of course, to those of us following us online, you can send in your questions to the phone number 0791 444 564, 0791 444 564. Wanaume, sasa tumeongeleshwa, tumesikia, but nobody is an expert in everything. This repository of knowledge is amongst all of us. So, gentlemen, what would we like to discuss or just seek clarification on from our panelists today?
Is someone here?
Where?
Good afternoon. First, I want to thank the leadership of KRA to, literally have this thought and have this Men's Day organized in such a wonderful and, it's really touching and very encouraging. Of course, I want to thank our panelists who've really given so much in wisdom in what they've experienced. And my question to you both, anyone can take it up, is in light of, the expectations society has on men and, all these pressures, how can a man build social support groups and maybe accountability structures that would put you in balance and in check in times when you're doing well and times when you're probably not on the right track? Thank you.
Okay, let me go first. I'm happy we are constantly mentioning about societal expectations. And let me say that, for example, if you grow up, like me, a very practical example is that I grew up in the village where there was no tarmac road. So all my life in primary school, I never saw a tarmac road. And I used to think that that's how life is. Life is, the roads are muddy. When you are traveling, you have to push the car in the mud. So I normalized life to be that way. Until I went to high school and I saw a tarmac for the first time. And then I got to understand, there's another life. So yes, the societal expectations are out of our conditioning of the brain. And this conditioning is so widespread that it is in the families. From the time a boy is born, you find they're being told how to be tough, how to be... Their upbringing is even rough. If they make a mistake, they're beaten, they're told you shouldn't make such a mistake. If they have a sister, the treatment is a bit different, or they are delicate. You find in a family of two, a girl and a boy, they have done KCPE, and the family has managed to take one to school. The boy has performed better, but the girl is taken to school and the boy is left and told to repeat because he can withstand, he can understand. So yes, it is the conditioning that has been there. And this conditioning is what we have to restructure. And this restructure is going to take some time. But the quick measures we can take in our generation is to create more awareness and make everybody aware. Everybody means both gender, that there's nothing like being man enough. We're all human beings. So that, because they are equally one of the contributors of this social pressure,
once people are aware from the mental perspective, they begin to lessen the pressure towards men. Then number two, how do you do self-assessment and know that you are doing well mentally? There are screening tools which are available to check your mental health status. So the screening tools are a form of questionnaires which you answer honestly. You answer honestly. So as you fill that questionnaire, the expert will look at your answers and will give you a score. So that score then will form a basis of a conversation. They pick that you have this level of depression, or you have this level of anxiety disorder, or you have this level of panic disorder, or you have this level of this condition which is affecting you mentally, and then you'll be guided on how to go about it. So the most important thing is to begin going for assessments, to begin seeking help. And whenever you feel overwhelmed, it means there's something wrong. And there's mentioned some things to watch out for: procrastinating things, feeling like you don't have enough energy to do what you do, feeling no longer interested in the things which used to interest you, feel like you want to spend time alone, feeling so much angered, easily irritable, everything small, you are irritated, you are not able to manage your anger, you have anger outbursts, you have reduced appetite, and many things like that. Then you seek help, you seek for professionals to guide you on how to go about it. So yes, I know sort of the expectations would push some people into shyness, but let's begin ourselves at KRA and be the ambassador. The men you go meet out there, tell them from today, hakuna kujikaza kimwanaume. That is how we begin to change. That's how we begin to spread this information. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just we've covered it all, and I just maybe from my own experience, similar. I think it's interesting. A lot of the older generation, you probably grew up in the village, and I stepped into the city of Nairobi on my first day to college, and that was my first time. I was put on a matatu, landed in Tomboya Street, and actually dropped at the Central Police Station, and walked to campus to register. And I think based on that, you got very limited support system. And it started from there. We had a smaller group of friends that I became vulnerable with. I think at the time, throughout my campus years, almost 4 of my friends that we're still friends today. And I think all of us do that. But I think for me, profoundly, after graduating, I had 1 or 2 people that I was vulnerable to. Because of whatever you go through. Probably you don't have money, probably you don't have something food to eat. And over time, I have kept those friends very close. Not too many of them in the closer circle. And it means they know my state. If they see me in a sad state, they know something is not right, and they can ask me and say, what's going on today? I think having that kind of support, it has worked for me. I have a slightly larger group, born out of one of them losing their mother or their parents, and we created a smaller group to and kept it very tight. In some way, it helps, and I think over time, you realize that, as somebody said, problem shared, it's probably gets smaller, and you feel much likely that you've been vulnerable to one or two of those. So I think that's what I've done for me, and it has worked pretty well. And I wouldn't fasting that if something is really, really, really difficult and going through, I can easily diverge to one of them, and they will guide me and say, here, don't make that rash decision. Do this. I think we all have that kind of circle of friends. I think just enhance that to open up, be more vulnerable, especially around other things that are going on in your life.
All right, having a band of brothers and people you're accountable to. You had alluded to this, Bunei, so I'll let you go first. There is a rather lengthy question here from James. He says, men being the providers culturally, and in the present, both men and women are able to earn a decent living. The financial aspect of life has become a sensitive issue, and men suffer most in regard to this culture, whereas the women are not adjusting to the reality that we both can provide, yet all the heavy lifting still is on men. So now what advice can you give on this matter? Because it is the mother of all men's problems.
I'm not sure anyone has. But I say this. It's a very interesting, I think similar. I mean, I'll be vulnerable. When I married and I courted my wife, we never had that discussion at all. And we basically grew, it happened that I married an engineer. 4 years behind me in college. Like most of us, when you graduate, you get a salary, they're still in school, so you are the provider. And soon they're out of going to workplace, and they catch up. And over time, so your first child, you're the one paying school fees, paying the rent, paying the fuel, and soon they buy their car, and because they have a little savings, you don't have any savings. And sooner or later you realize, I think we need to have this conversation. It's real, right? You're under a lot of pressure. The conversation has not happened. And I think what bills we need to split, we need mortgage and all sorts of things. I think you have to do that, because you'll be constantly under pressure, and if you don't have that conversation, it only gets worse, because soon she will use her money the weight of the family. For those who are young in marriage, I think, not a counselor, I think this is a conversation now that should always happen now before you settle in. I think this should be the case today in this age. But I think for those who are in the previous age like us, I feel we didn't have that conversation correctly. We should have addressed it.
Thank you for that, Bunei. Daktari?
Two things. It stems from culture and how we've been brought up. Our mothers, when they were married, those days, it was obvious that the wife migrates from their home and settles in the husband's home. And there's land there which belongs to the man. There are cows there which belong to the man. And they keep on giving birth and increasing in size. There's tea, we come from a tea plantation area. So the wife is taking care of all these things, and it is known that these properties and assets belong to the man, and therefore he is the provider. And the people have carried on that notion. Things have changed, and there are areas which is not changing. Things have changed, people are staying in town, the house doesn't belong to you, you're paying rent. There's probably nothing you own in that place apart from the things in the house that you can carry in a van or in some lorry. The land doesn't belong to you. But then there's the notion in the mind which has not changed, that you are the provider. Number two is that when people get to family life, they get there and get a certificate without going to any college of marriage, without going to any college of family life. And it's been shown that because of that, people don't understand one another, and people come with different cultural beliefs which they expect to run in that family. But these different cultural beliefs get to crash at some point. Let's now focus on the financial aspect which has been asked, because there are many other aspects which crash and bring conflicts and more pressure. But on the financial aspect, there is need to understand that this family life is a shared responsibility. And this can only be understood if it comes from a neutral party. You cannot go and tell your wife that you know family life is a shared responsibility. They look at you as a failure because of societal beliefs. Assess on your academic prowess to determine your economical stability in the future. Before I joined campus, I thought good in drama, very bent by talent. And this is a wake-up call to the leadership of even the country on how do we incubate talents from the time people are young. The young people, the young person who has spoken, from the question I can tell is a young person who has asked the question, even if they are anonymous. This is a young person who has gone to school and is out there without a job. He's out there and is being a man. Society says that you need to get something. Maybe as a girlfriend who's saying, oh, nitumia hapo pesa ya chips, nitumia pesa ya salon. And maybe this girl is a maid somewhere, and a man, society says you cannot be a maid. So this maid is being paid 10,000 every month, he's staying in the boss's house, and they're saving everything. This young boy is having no job, but the girlfriend is telling him, nitumie pesa ya salon. And he has to lie that I'll send next week, and he has no job. But this young man is very good in singing, and his singing talent was wasted when he was in primary school because nobody identified it. So number one, it's a bigger conversation for the country to have incubation centers for talent development so that people are able to earn from their talent. And then again, as corporates, we bring on board people who have talent and be able to give them some activities to do. Like for today, I could expect that maybe KRA, and I'm not putting you on spot, could have invited some people who are good in comedy. They entertain us for about 5 minutes and you pay them. And that would be their source of income for the day. But now the reality, how do you deal with this issue of pressure, of stress, before we look at the long-term solutions? From the mental health perspective and the mental health of men, number one, be honest. You know, it is becoming pressurized because we are not being honest. If you don't have money or you don't have capability to do ABCD, just be honest from today and say, I am not able, but I'm working on it. The day I'm able, I'm going to fulfill that. This pressure, let me tell you, higher percentage of pressure comes from external factors, not from internal. It is the external expectations which we carry on our shoulders, and we put it inside our mind, then we start saying, now things are tough. But you realize that those things you want to do it for other people, not even for yourself. So let's start where we are, and let's use what we have. But more importantly, be honest. And there's no time life is going to be perfect. Let nobody cheat you, even the ones who have billions of money are happy. In our practice, we have seen people who appear on television and they are in senior positions in government. You could think they have it all. And they come to our offices broken, weak, and vulnerable because of their mental well-being. So yes, money is an ingredient to good life, but may not be an answer, complete answer and solution to our mental well-being. Mental well-being encompasses many other factors, which include being aware of yourself, aware of your capabilities, aware that there are things you cannot do, there are things you can do, and it is okay. It's okay for your friend to be able to do more things than yourself. That is fine. Don't see your neighbor buying a car and you go take a Shylock and buy a car because you want to match up. There are things which are beyond your reach and then the reach of your friend, and it's okay. It is about being honest internally. then we're able to be stable mentally.
Dr. You keep reinforcing this theme of being honest, being honest, being honest. And unless there's a question on the floor, allow me to pose the last question, then I can ask you something myself. We have another person that wishes to remain anonymous. And this is just a general question, but I have seen it several times. It says that I perceive Men's Day to be less celebrated compared to the Women's Days. Why is it so, and what can be done to balance that inequality? Actually, David, you would be fantastic to answer this one. You said you're the patron of the Women's Society in your firm, and you are yet to celebrate men. So there's a grain of truth to this question.
No, it is really, it's a big question. It's a big question that we need to answer. We need to take a step. I think the first step is let's continue this discussion every year. I think there was a gentleman who was called Kibor, man. I think you know him. It's late, unfortunately. And I had actually the privilege of very, very, very memorable moment. When as a young man, just finished school, I tried to till some land to make some money before I go to the university. And the sad moment is that I had to sleep in the shamba because I was worried they will steal the maize. So in the morning, I had to go back home because I leased the land. And he found me on the roadside in his Mercedes, and he gave me a lift. It was such a memorable moment for me, for a man like that, because I guess he stood by the roadside. I stood by the roadside, kind of rained on or cold, and he gave me a lift in his warm Mercedes, a big Mercedes with a driver. And up to today, I remember him for that. And when he launched this program for men, it sounded like a joke, right? But I think it was the beginning of that conversation that we should continue having this conversation. Because it's looked very easy for him because he was a wealthy man, he was a successful man, and he kind of put his stake on the ground and say, let's this man, organization. I think in present day, or in this time, we have to realize that the celebration is not about being able to lead the family and take care of the children and paying the school fees all the way and making sure the family is well. I think it's to accept that we are vulnerable and we should help each other go through these complexities that we face as men. And I think that would be the first thing that I would say we need to celebrate. The successes of that movement of helping our fellow brothers walk the journey, the difficult journeys, or having the conversations that are difficult, that we probably don't have anyone else to share. That I believe the more we bring on board, the more the celebration becomes.
When amongst yourselves, happy, international. Let's celebrate it is because of the paternity leave is 14. Delivery is normal from biological and weak depressions. In fact, you could be surprised that it's wild to think there is no problem. We see everything as a small issue. You see everything as a thing you can handle. Small things have a very big, invisible, significant contribution to your health, your physical health. So going forward, I think men, and let me tell you, there's what we call the bystander effect. The bystander effect is when you're on the road, 20 people of you, and you see somebody falling down. Each and every person thinks the other one is going to lift them up. Let's not have the bystander effect. Let's not think there are other men out there who are going to organize these things. From this room, can we be the first people? Can we be the first team to begin organizing these functions annually and having more support groups amongst ourselves? From today, can we have support group, a social group of 10, whereby you meet, discuss things about men. Make it a routine. Every week you meet once, and you are just discussing amongst yourself the things you have gone through, the things you are going through right now, the fears you have about life. How is your family? Can we begin it today? And the men who are here, can you form those social networks now, so that we don't keep on talking theories, and then we meet here next year and we are saying, oh, men don't talk. If you need to change, the change starts from you and now.
Thank you, Dr. And I like what you have closed with. Let's not have a bystander effect. So I hope that when we're doing this event next year, Lord willing, that this entire auditorium will be full and men will come and ask the questions that need to be asked, and we have such conversations. Before I retire you from the panel, allow me to just invite you to give your parting shot and what you want to leave these men with as you take your seats. David, then Dr.
No, thank you very much. First to the leadership of KRA for recognizing the fact that this is important for us to have this conversation, for inviting us personally to join you on this important day. I think it's a first step to all of us to share and be able to understand what's going on around us. And secondly, I think the fact that we've had this conversation, it should not stop here. I think reach out to fellow men, whether here or outside of KRA, who it could be your brother, it could be your cousin, it could be your uncle, who may be going through the same. And as Dr. Aria shared, there are avenues to have these conversations and be helped to be able to make the change that would improve their lives. But in improving their lives, they improve their families and improve the people around them. And I do believe that first step will make a huge difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, I extend my appreciation to KRA Management for thinking about men. For me, mambo matatu. One, no human being is perfect. It's only God who is perfect. It's only God who is a stronger being. You are just a human being, and you can be vulnerable. Number two, it is okay not to be okay. Number three, it is good to be emotional and cry if crying will help relieve your emotions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Mr. Bunei. Gentlemen, I'd like us to appreciate these gentlemen, not with a normal round of applause, but a hearty 3-cheer clap as they take their seats. Gentlemen, 1, 2, 3. Again. Funga. Fungua. Please take your seats, Dr. and please take your seat, Mr. Bunei. As we come to the close of the event, of course, it is important to hear from our leadership, because we have had Dr. exhort leadership to take steps. I hope that they've been listening. So let's hear from our leadership. To speak to us, gentlemen, now I would like to invite Deputy Commissioner Mr. David Mwangi to give his closing remarks. Gentlemen, please let's appreciate Mr. David Mwangi with a round of applause.
Thank you, moderator, Mr. Karama Mashiri, our distinguished guests, our guest lead speakers, Deputy Commissioner in charge of finance, my fellow colleagues. Good, is it morning or afternoon? It's afternoon. My name is David Mwangi, Deputy Commissioner, Legal Services and Board Coordination Department. Standing in for the Commissioner, Mr. Matuko, who is away on leave. And I'm delighted to have you here, engaging in this conversation about the well-being of fellow men. I'll give the commissioners closing remarks as I also at the end of it, and to my own remarks. In open conversation concerning critical issues such as mental health, the impact of toxic masculinity, and the distressing prevalence of male suicide. The statistics that we have had today surrounding man's mental health paints a plain picture and brings to reality the fact that there is need for urgently address these issues with sincerity and empathy. As management of KRA, our commitment to our staff well-being wavering. Stability, empowered to express themselves, serve as a catalyst to change, a catalyst for change, and propel forward a society where seeking help is seen not as a sign of weakness, but as a strength. Regardless of gender, let us express compassion, understanding, and unwavering support to all the men in their journey to mental wellness. I want to thank all of you for joining us here in this significant moment as we took the strides towards fostering healthier and a more understanding society for everyone, and especially our men at KRA. Thank you very much, and may God bless you. Now, I think today's dialogue was an eye-opener. As Dr. Samuel was taking us through some of those signs, I was busy looking at myself. Am I having some of those signs? And I know each and every one of you found something in himself that really points to a degree of stress or a degree of mental health. So it behoves on us to take the initiative, to be the first to initiate a culture of sharing. The take-homes that we have as men, we've been told in plain words that men, we are biologically weak. Let us live to that reality. And the starting of the healing, it is to accept. It is to share the message that we got today with all fellow men in our various forums to ensure that we do not hold back. We do not just cry internally. Men say that their tears drop inwards. And Dr. has told us that is very dangerous because the accumulation of the hormones just makes a strain of your vessels, and it becomes even a source of even other unrelated illnesses like blood pressure, diabetes, and all that. So let us be ambassadors to the men who are not here, to go and tell them what we have learned. I know they have missed a lot, and let us live what we have had today. Cry if you feel emotional, it's okay. That's my take home. I often do that. I don't hold back when I'm emotional. Be it in church, be it before my family, be it before my parents. I have a mother who is 105 years old, still alive, still in very good mental faculty. And at times, the stories, when I meet her, I can't help but to cry when I see what we have gone through. So I agree with you, Daktari. It is healthy. Some occasions cause for you to cry so that you relieve that internal stress. Another take home, also from Daktari, it's okay not to be okay. My fellow men, let's not always assume that it is okay. It is never okay until you make it okay. You are the ones to make it okay. By sharing, let us have forums where men can freely express themselves before other men. Let us not be our own enemies. Empathize as managers, as supervisors in this organization. My take home is, before you condemn your fellow man, listen. Before you say he has not performed, listen to the circumstances, empathize. And you may not have the solution, but the fact that you have offered a shoulder, the fact that you have offered an ear to that man, taken keen interest in the circumstances, it is in itself healing to that man. It is, you have set that person in the journey to self-realization and to self-healing. So thank you very much, Dr. Sami and Mr. Bunye, for your insightful engagement with this team. And on behalf of KRA, we pledge to keep this fire burning. This is just but a first, and we'll take the initiative to celebrate any little achievement that our fellow men achieve. It gives the men the esteem, and it gives them the drive to forge ahead. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Bwana DC. One last hand of applause for Bwana DC. I don't want to add on to what management has said, and thank you, DC, for being vulnerable. I think we are seeing that what Daktari was saying here can be lived out, and it is being lived out by our management. So much as our default is kujikaza kimwanaume, we've been told that releasing the stress, whether through tears or talking by another person, allows you to perform. Daktari elaborated what performance looks like. So let us allow ourselves to be free and speak to your fellow man. Kwa hivyo tupelekane kahawa. Si tulisema tunaenda kahawa pamoja? Si tulisema tunaenda kahawa? All right. Allow me to now call upon Mr. Julius Yeager to give us our vote of thanks. Thereafter, we shall have a photo session and we can resume our duties. So, gentlemen, please put your hands together for Mr. Julius Yeager.
Good afternoon, everyone. How many of you are seeing me for the first time? How many? How did you come to KRA? I used to be the principal of KESRA. First, let me say thank you so much, Bwana Mwangi, Commissioner, because of what you've just said a few minutes ago. It has actually made me very happy that you've said how it works. And let me confirm to you, gentlemen, in this house, that Mr. Mwangi, whom I've known for a long time, he gave us a lot of comfort in DTD. And what he has said is what he lives. He lives by what he says. When you have a problem, go to him, he will guide you. Now let me turn back to the two gentlemen. You seem to have come to Nairobi after some of us, but the same style. Even me, when I came, I went to KU using 2 shillings and 50 bob in a Kenya bus. That was the bus fare from town to KU. But let me tell you, the key word that I want you guys to go with, which they have told us today, is honesty. Can you repeat it? Be honest in life. That is the greatest thing that can happen to you. With your wife, be honest. Very honest. For example, I've been there 34 years. I celebrated 34 years of marriage on Saturday. And my wife can remain with my phone. She can have my ATM. And let me tell you why I'm telling you that, because it goes to what Daktari said a few minutes ago. If she knows there's no money in your account, hautauliza vitu. Juu anajua haiko. And she will support you, even paying fuel. Be honest. Be honest. Something else, which I think Daktari and Mr. Bune, you alluded to, and one of you said it, the Peters principle. The Peters what? Principle. Peters principle has happened to so many people in this country, and even in KRA, where you are promoted very fast to a level of incompetence. Then on your own you fall out. Nobody tells you to go home, but you just go home because of Peters what? Principle. So if you are made a chief manager before your time, for heaven's sake, tell them, mungoje kidogo, niwe sawa sawa. If you are made a DC before your time, be honest. Men, be honest. Mr. Bunei. He said his wife was 4 years behind him. You remember that? But at some stage now, akajionea, no, engineer could be doing better than I do. Let's see how it can be agreed on the way forward. Men, be what? Honest. So on behalf of our colleagues that have seen you today, Daktari, and my colleagues who are seated here, as KRA, we are grateful that you came. Men, and most of some of you look like my sons and daughters, be honest. If you can't manage it, say it's not possible. And in KRA, and let me tell you, you will realize, as we were being told, like now, I have very less control. Very less control. When I go to my house, my daughters tell me, Daddy, we can do that better. The shock I got, Mr. Mwangi, the first time, I went to visit my daughter, and then all of a sudden my grandchildren said, oh, ni babu. You know, I didn't know I was a babu until I was told. So now we have lost control. So, Mr. Karanu Mushiri, our good presenter, you managed it very well. The two gentlemen who came, we are saying we are very grateful. DC Omondi, who has been with us here since we started it. And I can tell you, I know these two gentlemen may go ahead of me. And please, be honest. Don't create something like disability so that you can stay longer. We will be following each other as time comes. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you go back to your office, be honest, and we shall all be happy. God bless you all, people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Julius Yeager. Always a way to make an impression. Now, gentlemen, we have come to the close of our event. We're about to do a photo session. Russian poet Vladimir Lenin once said that there are decades where nothing happens, but there are weeks where decades happen. Gentlemen, this has been the beginning where decades can happen in weeks. Let us continue these conversations so that just the same way in the 80s, we had action for the girl child. When we're meeting here in 5 years, we can say that as KRA and as a wider Kenyan society, we have taken action for the man. Let us not let this opportunity go to waste. Let us make decades happen in weeks. So gentlemen, allow us to just remain seated as we do our photo session. As you remember, in most of our events, we do all 4 blocks. But allow me to invite our panelists to come to the stage so that our photographer can take their photos. After the panelists, we shall be joined by management here present. Then management and our panelists shall come to all the 4 blocks. And after that, we shall not send you away hungry. There's something we've prepared for you right outside this door.
So, to our dear panelists, please come to the stage so that we may take a photo with you. Steve, please come and take a photo.
Fantastic. Thank you, gentlemen. We have prepared a cup of coffee for you. Kwa hivyo, kunywa kahawa na mwanaume mwenzako. #kunywa kahawa.